What's the most disturbing thing somebody did because they had a crush on you? Married me. Wrote erotica about me in which I said stop, I'm only 16. He was in his mid-20s at the time. Sent me pictures of her cutting herself after she found out I had a girlfriend. He broke into my cousin's house and stole my guinea pig to feed to a snake because I wouldn't break up with my boyfriend to date him. Walked a good 5 miles with me because she was going my way. I was almost home before I found out she lived 30 seconds from the pub I met her in. She said she'd have to stay at mine as it wasn't safe for her to walk home alone. I ended up having explained that I wasn't attracted to her and had to call her a taxi home and pay for it. They stole my hat and refused to give it back because it smelled like me. One of my brother's friends tried to impress a girl by shoving his whole hand down his throat. Wrote a love letter in blood. Somehow the teacher got hold of it and then the whole school found out. This was a while ago in high school, so IDK can really fault him for being dumbass, but he told everyone we knew that I was his dream girl and that we were going to get married. He actively sought out rumors about who I was crushing on, or who was crushing on me, or just any guy who would talk to me, and tell them to please let him have a chance and to not ask me out. Weirdest thing was I didn't even really talk to him, didn't even know his last name, just said hi during calculus every morning. A first-year girl in high school tried to jerk me off in front of my friend girl when I was in 3rd year because she thought I was cute. This isn't the only advance she made, but after this she lost her mind a bit. I was at 19-year-old at the time, waitress, and a 49-year-old man that I'd served tried to connect with me through the missed connections page on Craigslist. He then came to my work and professed his love for me in a Christmas card that ironically had a cartoon of Santa being kicked in the balls by a child with the caption, "Stranger Danger." In his note, he said he wasn't sure if I'd be interested in an older man and he had a wife and children, so we'd have to find a way around that little detail. I didn't feel safe at work, so I had the police intervene and tell him not to bother me again. Paid someone to attack me so they could rescue me. Didn't work. Hit the attacker with a book bag, pinned him down. He started yelling that he had been paid to do it just as the other guy showed up. On my way home from work. He knew my schedule, and I took the bus. Proposed marriage so aggressively he had to be escorted off the premises, then later broke the lock off my dorm room and tried to get into bed with me. I remember this event so clearly. This happened in 1st grade in school. The class was sitting on the ground for story time. A girl named F wearing a purple dress and white stockings sits down next to me. Then as the teacher begins reading, I feel her bite me. Bite my hard on my shoulder. I scream out in pain and begin to cry. Teacher looks up confused. I say that F bit me. Girl looks confused and says, "But I like you, that's why I bit you." Needless to say, I didn't like her after that. Funny thing was I did think she looked cute that day. After the bite though, I made sure to keep my distance from her. Edit, I just remembered something else she did before the bite. She once walked up to me randomly and started scratching my back. Like just wildly down my back like a raptor trying to claw something. That's when I began to think she was weird. This dude I knew for a while went out of his way to introduce himself to me. He was nice enough. We hung out in group situations sometimes. Eventually he started to do weird shit. He asked me where I'd bought some new clothes, and then I saw him the next week wearing the exact same clothes. The shirt and jeans and shoes. Then I started seeing his car in my street at random times of the night. I got up to go to the bathroom one night and to let my cat in, and he was sitting in his car watching my house. I wasn't scared of this guy, he was weaker than me, but it was really weird. He'd call me and put me on speakerphone and then record our conversations. I found this out from a mutual friend. Anyway, I made sure he knew I didn't like it and stopped hanging with that group of friends. Then a few months later I received a call from one of my best friends who told me a story about the same guy who'd copied his exact hair color, which was red, black and blonde at the time. Since then we always think back to this guy, and laugh. We called him Stalker Adam. To be fair, he wasn't dangerous. I think he was just awkward and lonely and didn't know how to cope with his feelings. I came home from high school and the said college-age crusher was sitting on the sofa chatting with my family. WTF. I only went on 2 very platonic dates with him. I was only friendly, but he had way more in mind. He actually asked my parents if he could marry me because I was such a virginal angel. Needless to say, I never spoke to this guy again, though repeated texts and calls. Goodbye and good riddance. Jeez. Snapped my bra strap to get my attention. Found out he had been telling my coworkers that we had been dating for weeks, when in reality I had never spoken to the dude in my life. Found out when I was asked about my crazy weekend with my boyfriend when I am, in fact, single as fuck. First they would have to have a crush on me. Ugh. I knew a mentally ill girl who had a crush on me for a while and did various stalkerish things, including showing up at my work, changing her phone number 4 times, to trick me into answering, and running away from home by hopping on a bus to a city 6 hours away, then texting me at 3 a.m. that she'd changed her mind and asking me to come pick her up and bring her home. At no point did I ever indicate any interest in her whatsoever. On the contrary, I repeatedly told her we would never be together, but it was just in one ear and out the other. But the crap she pulled with me pales in comparison to another guy she also had a crush on. He was living with a few friends and their place was a pretty regular hangout for a wild bunch of people. Consequently, they almost never locked their doors. She showed up and let herself in one afternoon while they were all at work, and he came home to find her sleeping in his bed. He had to threaten to call the police to get her to leave. Another time, she literally hid behind some bushes with a knife, and when he came walking by she jumped out and told him she'd kill herself if he didn't hug her. A classmate of mine who I barely talked to came up to me on Valentine's Day and handed me chocolates and huge-ass teddy bear with my name sewn into it. A bit weird, but I was appreciative of their gift. However, the worst part is that they handed me a drawing of me leaning on a motorcycle in very revealing clothes that looked kinky as hell. Keep in mind that my fashion is quite conservative, and then proceeded to loudly recite a 2-page long love poem in public while I was with my friends. The poem referred to me as his princess, love of his life, etc. I rejected him and never spoke to him again. Weirdest case I've ever had is where a girl challenged me to a table tennis match, but she used her flip-flops as dual-wielded bats. It was 2 a.m. I mockingly called her my special little snowflake while flirting. She had never heard of the label snowflake before. The next day she shows me her new tattoo of a snowflake. Plucked a hair off of my jacket and ate it in front of me. I invited her over to hang out. She was already outside my place waiting for the call. IDK if this counts, but I broke up with an ex because I just wasn't into her. Started dating a new girl and ran into my ex at a party a few weeks after. She pulled me into the bathroom and showed me her thigh in which she had carved my name into it, claiming she still loved me. We had only dated a month. Getting dick pics even though I was 12, and I told them and they kept asking for nudes. Asked if I wanted to marry her. We were 12. We were cousins. A guy that saw me in Subway once brought his entire family to meet me. I never even met the guy. I only know who he was because he was with a group of guys staring at me there a week earlier. They apparently waited over an hour. He had started asking about me so much that the workers started keeping me updated on when the guy was there so I could avoid him. Trying to do the things my GF did, like stepping on my shoes while holding onto my shoulders, hugging me, etc. We were in a distance, so he learned where I study from a friend of mine. I didn't tell him for many reasons, and came one day without saying anything to me. I told him that I had classes that day, but he insisted that I should stay with him. Even though he knew I had a boyfriend, he kissed me and bought me a gift. When I told him I wasn't interested, again, he cried and shouted at me. Not so bad, but freshman year of college I had a girl in my class both semesters, and she would not stop staring at me or trying to sit next to me. She would make comments like, "I like your voice," or uncommon stuff like that, and when I said I had a girlfriend she called her a whore. One stood on top of a desk and asked me to kiss him in front of the class. Yeah, that was odd. Next one kissed my knee? I'm not sure either. And then there was the one who bullied my little brother and called me bad names all the time because he thought it would get me to like him. No. Calling me a fat slut isn't gonna get me to be into you, honey. Thanks for watching. What would be your response? Leave it in the comments and see what the others say. Please also like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.